the Sonora Collective, is this like kind
Yeah,
of part of this rebirth energy where you're like, I'm going to invest my time into
yeah,
building something? So can you
yeah.
talk about the formation and like the story of how you and Katie Althan put together this collection of musicians and composers to try to solve a problem?
Okay, well, the problem, this brings us to the dark period of when you graduate from conservatory and you just wonder, what am I going to do? Like I don't have a schedule. I personally think Sonora Collective provides an avenue for like talented musicians and composers to keep performing, and it's for people who also want to keep working from a place of performance. Who it's for people that want to keep practicing. Like when I graduated from school and was like gigging and doing sessions and doing XYZ ensemble or orchestra, opera company, whatever you want. I just kept wondering if people really practice at that high level,
Oh my God.
that
Yeah.
that hyper focused borderline obsessive level to get something done. I just I was always wondering, like, and then I also had a fear in me, like, I don't want to get to that point in my life where I have nothing to practice for, and then I'm not going to wait for like a gig to like give me music to practice. It's part of why I wanted to get a DMA. Like, there's so much more to know. There's so much repertoire. It keeps me humble. It's like constantly climbing a mountain.
Mhm.
Again, another way to like stay fresh. But Sonora, like, I realize there's so much supply of musicians, great musicians.
Mhm.
Some that might be like too timid to even realize they're great musicians. Not everyone knows that they could be at the top. They just, I don't know, some people just hide away and kind of they go the orchestra route, which I think is great too because that's a whole other competition. But yeah, so the problem that I wanted to solve was we have all these great composers, all these great musicians, probably from age, what is it, like 24
Mhm.
to forever. But especially that age where you're like right out of school trying to build your schedule.
Mhm.
How can I make this like compassionate collective that seeks to like bring performers into new spaces and then widen audiences? I mean, I didn't think it was such a far-fetched idea because like art visual artists are constantly having people view their art. Why don't we just combine venues? So like we can each pull from different audiences, and then you get this like expanded experience of the arts.
That's great. And the museum is such a natural fit for music because often it sounds good. It's already staged. They already have chairs at most of them, so you don't have to bring in chair. Like I
Well,
hosted, yeah. I guess it depends. New York might be different, but when I was out in Colorado this summer, hosted a couple shows at like the Museum of Boulder. Like the person we partnered with, we were trying to find business business relations just out in the city, and the person who we clung on to the most and who kind of became like an advisor was the like director at the Museum of Boulder, and put on some like great sold out concerts. And most of those people don't go to concerts; they go to the museum, and they're already used to viewing art. They're already donors to the concert or to the museum. They're already interested in it, and you have a nice, beautiful backdrop. It's not just a curtain and a wood floored stage. You know, there's
yeah,
art. You're surrounded by art. It's a great
it's like
fit.
a cool event. And you can tell people about it like, hey, you're hitting two birds with one stone. Come to this thing. I promise you'll like some component of it, whether it's visual or oral. I mean, I do sometimes think music needs a visual component. Sometimes it just does. Like some people just hate going to concerts. We have to face that reality. I think I mean, this is like maybe from a jaded perspective. Not saying I'm jaded, but for maybe someone that's jaded, it's like, oh, another concert. Oh, what's going to be different about this concert? Oh, there's just like a few composers that are different. But in my case, Sonora is like we pair a composer to the art gallery, to the exhibition that the art gallery is putting on. And we try to talk about the music in a way that relates to the gallery and the music, because it's not so far-fetched. Like, we're going to put on a concert where the exhibition is focused on texture. Texture is something you can definitely, it's an avenue into talking about music. I mean, there's so many directions you can go with that. I'm sure as a composer you resonate with that.
And the thing I really like, even just from the production side of things, putting together an experience. We can see now out in the real world examples of people paying top dollar for the experience. They're not necessarily sold on a concert. When you look at successful concerts that are getting people to show up, they're not advertising it even as a concert. It's an experience. Come experience something. And when you show up, there's just a bunch of candles everywhere, or it's in an art museum, or it's in a bar and it has drink pairings, and it just turns out people like uh they like being catered to. They like enjoying the whole thing. When even if the music is just the most standard Beethoven, Mozart's that they could have gone and seen in a concert hall, the fact that it's in a new location and it's not necessarily being sold as, hey, here's Beethoven and Mozart. It's being sold as, this is a great night out and you're going to enjoy this. It goes so it goes so much further than you would traditionally expect, and people love it. And that's how you get different audiences. Airbnb doesn't, it's not called Airbnb events or Airbnb whatever. Like, it's Airbnb experiences. Am I going to any of those? No. But that's $1 billion company who titled it experiences over anything else, because we like that. I want to have a good experience. I might not care as much about just the music. So I think it's great what you're doing, and it's really smart because it's two birds, one stone. I love how you said it. You're gonna find something you're going to like and that you can relate to. And I think when someone's describing, oh, I'm just going to like some classical concert, like that's not like a super compelling thing. Even to most classical musicians who have degrees in this stuff, I can't convince someone off the street to come to this. But I'm like, hey, we're gonna go do this. They play in the dark. It's really cool. They're gonna show up and they're gonna brag about that thing, and they're gonna have a wonderful time. It's really smart what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it was a challenge during the pandemic because we started like right before we started March 2020. There are a bunch of art galleries on my block, and I just walked into one and I was like, hey, I made a collective. You guys are an artist collective. Let's be two collectives together. And they were like, yes, this is exactly what I want. And their like furniture was cool and it was like all puffy. It was actually all tough.